Hey, Sean, great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, we've had some really stimulating conversations, and so I'm glad that we're able to share some of those things with other folks. Um, Awaken 2025, our theme, by Illuman standards at least, is kind of edgy, igniting the fire of our sacred masculine. There's been so much emphasis on the negative or the dark side of the masculine over the last 10 or 20 years that this theme claims that there is a sacred masculine and that we want to fire that up.
Mhm.
So you have a theology degree and you work with hypermasculine men and hypermasculine environments. You have also worked in an organization where the leadership was predominantly female. So you have some unique perspectives to bring on this. So, just like to ask, what does the sacred masculine mean for you, and how would we ignite the fire in the sacred masculine?
Mm. So the first thing that comes to mind is integration. When we when we are courageous enough to look within, to look at ourselves, um, we can start to discover our own truth. And within that, it's coming into an understanding of our relationship with the masculine. Now, a lot of times, there's so many definitions out there of what the masculine is. There's so many interpretations of what it is, and yet it can be the pathway to discovering our truth. It
Hmm.
can be the pathway to healing when we look at it for what it is. It can be a source of strength, and it's a place where when we look at what we want to protect, what we want to honor, how we want to serve, it can be a source of the courage to step into the places that we're being called to step up, to show up, to be real, and to have the conversations that sometimes we're afraid to have, or that we've been told we can't have. And so I think
Hmm.
the masculine is really that place of stepping up for men, and it's the place of integrating into our wholeness.
So, Sean, we were just talking about the sacred masculine. Where does the spirit come in, or how do we understand that loving mystery beyond ourselves in the sacred masculine? And what does that have to do with the fire of the sacred masculine?
When I think about preparing for the healing journey, there are a number of steps that I've identified. The first is to create safety among men, and what I like to say is ugly cry in front of each other and it be okay. The second is to see the world with childlike wonder, and to be able to move into and reconnect with play, to
Hmm.
let down the mask of stoicism.
Hmm.
The next is to surrender into the unknown and let go of the need for control. And then last is to listen to the voice within.
Hmm.
And I think there's an inner knowing that, um, when we can access it, when we're courageous enough to come into, this warrior compassion energy, is an energy within each of us that is accessible. And when we
Hmm.
can listen to the voice within, and listen to our embodied wisdom, that's when we have the opportunity to really tap into our soul, into our spirit.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I had a spiritual guide once who said, the journey is often to move from the lies of the mind to the truth of the heart, to the wisdom of the soul.
Hmm.
And when
Hmm.
we start to follow and listen, then we start to follow the sacred compass. And the sacred compass can help us navigate complexity. It can help us navigate
Hmm.
complication, and it can help us navigate in a world that is disruptively shifting, so evolving so quickly,
Hmm.
that we can
Hmm.
understand what is ours to do as we
Yeah.
walk through and
Hmm.
navigate. How do we show up, and how do we be courageous with our warrior energy and know when and where and
Hmm.
how to use it?
Hmm. Hmm. I wonder too about the sacred as the fire, uh, not just giving us wisdom, but not leaving us in peace until we surrender to what is ours to do, even if that's really hard. So I think of Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi. There are others who are less well known. If you said to them, why are you doing this? And why are you putting yourself in the midst of so much controversy and so much physical danger? And after all, they were both assassinated, right? Um, and I think they would have said, well, this is what I'm called to do. This is what the voice within is uh, uh, telling me to do. Have you seen that in your own life or in the lives of some of the men that you work with?
You know, the day I realized when I was talking to my spiritual guide that my soul's call is to bring love to hate
Hmm.
and to go into the communities of hate and hold those men, those individuals from love and compassion, and knowing the risks
Hmm.
of potential harm and saying this cause is worth dying for.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, I think there's our career purpose, there's our life purpose, and then there's our soul purpose.
Hmm.
And the reality is we can't outrun our soul purpose, our soul
Right.
call, right? It
Yeah.
will keep following us until we get on track. And so I think as we look at what I like to call mission discovery, the work around purpose,
Yeah.
where we can really track with the course of our journey, where we can
Hmm.
really pay attention to those signs that were informing us what is our call. When we can look at those things that have been most problematic over the course of our lives and realize those are the lessons for our soul's journey.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I think this is where we come to this place of understanding that the call of our soul is unequivocal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not something that you're not going to negotiate it. You're not going you learn again why the step before it is surrender into the unknown. You
Hmm.
just have to understand that um, and why I love to go whitewater rafting. I'm not in
Yeah.
control of what water is. And so as you brought
Hmm.
in even the fire, I went immediately to the water.
Hmm.
And that these
Hmm.
light forces, the fire within, the connection to water, the connection to air, the connection to the earth, that the elements are all part of what guides us.
Hmm.
But it is the
Hmm.
fire that can activate us, and it's the fire
Yeah.
that can move us into the places of courage to take the stands that others won't.
Yeah. The fire of our sacred masculine.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we will be spending quite a lot of time at this Awaken looking at the warrior archetype. So the Jungian archetypes, king, magician, lover, warrior. And this is, again, kind of controversial because so many people, including men, have been wounded by the dark side of the warrior, the bully, the tyrant, the abusive boss, the demeaning father, um, all kinds of men who abuse their warrior energy to dominate other men or other people. So you work with, as I said, hypermasculine men and hypermasculine environments, men who are warriors in the sense of fighting, the veterans who have fought for the country, police, first responders, others. Um, how do you see the bright side, the positive side of the warrior manifesting in the men you work with, and then maybe more broadly in other aspects of the society?
Mhm. Well, I think to your point, we often see or hear about the dark side. We don't talk enough about the essence, um, or the light side. And one of the things that you know a part of my training is around really the existential inquiry. You know, who am I? Why am I here? What am I here to do? How do I love? You know, one of the things that I do in these environments is I take folks back to those four questions. And I believe we are reminders of each other's humanity. And sometimes
Hmm.
it's just going back to, for someone who's been on the force for 20 years, going back to, so why did you become an officer? Why did you join the military?
Hmm.
What were your original intentions in naming that? Because I think in the ways that we become contorted through the cultures we're in, through the work we're doing, through the trauma we see, to the wounding we experience, we can lose touch with the why.
Hmm.
And again, you know, when I'm in conversations, I make a distinction between brokenness and woundedness. You know, people are not wounded, but our systems can be broken.
Hmm.
But we can be wounded by broken systems. And so,
Hmm.
again,
Yes.
coming back to the compassion, you know, to the people that I'm able to reach, the guys that I talk to, um, reminding them of who they are at their core, reminding
Hmm.
them and helping them see their truth. And it's helping them be in an inquiry that I am not saying I have the definition of who you should be, but I have the questions for you to name and own who you actually are beneath the protective
Hmm.
layer, beneath the wounding, beneath the grief, between the anger, beneath the anger, and who are you at your core? And reminding folks of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think what's key is for those of us that are working with these guys in particular, that we can also see that in them and are not
Hmm.
having our own distorted view or
Hmm.
perception or assumption of who we think they are,
Hmm.
versus coming in with open-hearted, non-judgmental curiosity to really
Hmm.
understand them and their story, and for them to feel like they've been seen, they've been heard, they've been validated for who they are. So I think right now we're in a time where we don't have enough of that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. That's beautiful. And for men who haven't experienced Illumin before, at Awaken, or an important part of Awaken, is counsel. So that after each of the talks, there will be an opportunity to go and be in a small group where there will be some questions that are designed to be open-ended, that are designed to help every man in the group process what he's hearing, but also how it's landing and changing him. And the rules of counsel are the intentions of counsel: speak from the heart, listen from the heart, be lean of speech, respect absolute confidentiality within that circle. And so this will give all of us at Awaken an opportunity not just to reflect, but really go to the heart of some of the questions that you will be asking us to think about,
mhm.
very much in line with the work you're doing. Now, the other thing that we have noticed, I think this to some degree is true for nearly all men, but especially for younger men. Our society seems to set up a an unhealthy dichotomy about your choices. One of them kind of stereotypes the warrior as the guy who is strong, who uses his strength to dominate other people and to get what's his. The other stereotype is no, no, that's bad. You should be nice. Women will like you if you're vulnerable and talk about your feelings. And maybe that's true. I don't know. But in any case, that you need to come across, you need to present yourself as very reserved and kind of soft. So, uh, both of these are unhelpful stereotypes, and yet many men feel they have a choice. They can be a wimp or a jerk. They can be a pussy or an asshole. And in Illuman, we're quite sure there are some better options than that. And that's one of the things one of the topics we'll be exploring. I wonder what are your thoughts from your experience working with men and with women for that matter? Uh, what thoughts do you have that we might consider before Awaken about finding some version of healthy masculinity that includes warrior energy, but avoids these stereotypes and these extremes?
So someone asked me once, what does manhood mean to you? And I said, I don't know. It's not for me to say. I can speak to my version, but that's not a blanket statement for all men.
Hmm.
And so I think right now we're at a point where we're either saying, when we think about how do we bring this work forward, we can take an outside in approach where we're saying this is the definition of healthy masculinity, or we can take an inside out approach, which is let me guide you in an inquiry for you to discover your own truth around what this
Hmm.
means for you. I think what we started, I'm going to go back to that word I used, integration.
Hmm.
That when we integrate the best parts of ourselves and reclaim the parts of ourselves we're rejected and come into our fullness, our wholeness, you know, the definition of what masculinity looks like will make itself clear. I think what we've done up to this point, in terms of a lot of conversations I'm in, is we're talking in a lot of monolithic ways. All men are like this. All conservatives
Hmm.
are like this. All progressives are like this. We're in these binaries. We're in this disconnection. And the reality is, what I find most helpful and effective is when I don't operate from the monolithic and I speak from the complexity of who each man is that I'm engaged with. And I'm curious about their experience, their story. And I typically actually don't talk about masculinity a lot. When someone brings it up, then I'll talk about it. But there's a lot of other ways to talk about who we are as men without some of the nomenclature that we've been using to talk about
Hmm.
a richer experience of what it means to be a man today. What I can say is that there's a lot of men who are lost, a lot of men who are confused, a lot of men who are frustrated based on being told this is how you should be and
Hmm.
not asking
Hmm.
how do you want to be,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I think part of that then is guiding when you are more informed about what your choices are and you have agency,
Right.
then you can make maybe different decisions than you would have otherwise. So that's where I say we are guiding each other on a journey by modeling who we are, asking each other questions, and providing mutual support so men aren't feeling like they're alone with their own thoughts and their own solitude, trying to navigate and trying to figure out, and not necessarily talking about what's real for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And holding it all in and holding beyond the stoicism and getting bombarded by messages of how you should be, again, without asking, how do you want to be?
Hmm. That's perfect. In Illumin and particularly at this Awaken, we are not being prescriptive about masculinity or manhood. The talks that you and others will provide, I think, will give some real strong stimulus to men to think, and then in councils to connect with each other, to talk honestly from the heart about what they're feeling, about the confusion, the frustration. I'm very aware that as an elder, a boomer, uh, I can't tell Gen Z men what masculinity should look like for them. Um, I can try to be a full-on grandpa for my grandchildren, and sometimes even as a father. Oddly enough, my 40-something sons still seem to want to talk to me sometimes about life. So for elders, even my age, I think we can be present for each other and for younger men, but we're there to help men figure out what's the healthy understanding of their manhood, including the warrior,
Mhm.
because without the warrior energy, we're not going to accomplish very much, right? So that's really beautiful. And Sean, I know that you will be the guest at the watering hole on September 4th, and you'll be looking at another part of masculinity and manhood, um, unleashing the healing power of men, which is something that hardly anyone talks about.
Mhm.
And yet, in my work in Illuman, I've seen amazing uh, healing power when men hear each other, hold each other, care for each other. So I'm looking forward to this. And for anyone who would like to join, please go to illumin.org and look for Watering Hole, and you can register there. Um, Sean, I can hardly wait till November. We've had so much good stuff that we've talked about and that you've contributed already. Any closing thoughts for this video?
Yeah, I want to just say the inspiration for um, unleashing the healing power of men. I was at an event in Virginia through my old company, Eileen Fisher, and I remember having a conversation around that age old saying, "You can't love someone else until you love yourself."
Hmm.
And at that point in my journey, I was like, "Well, where's the freaking roadmap? Because I don't know how to do that."
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think we as men have been given the roadmap of how to love ourselves, or even what are healthier definitions of love. And
Hmm.
so that talk at the watering hole will be really some of the insights I've gleaned from creating a roadmap for healing
Hmm.
and a roadmap for helping men learn how to love in new ways. I wanted to give
Hmm.
a level of context of what we'll be, some of what we'll be talking about or touching on in that
Hmm.
discussion.
Beautiful. Okay, Son, thanks so much for joining me, and blessings to you and for your work.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Looking forward to it.